Hey Thrivers, you're listening to episode number 11. Today we have with us a special guest who spent 8+ years working as a labor and delivery nurse before settling down to raise a family of her own. We're excited to be joined by Melissa Leaman, a mom and medical professional who's here to share with us all things babies. We felt like this was perfect timing as Christine and I are both getting closer to welcoming our own babies into the world, and who doesn't love a great birth story? I know I do. Whether kids are in the faraway future for you or you're already a mama to a growing tribe of little ones, this is an episode that will have you laughing, and you might need the tissues too. So stay tuned for practical advice from Melissa, along with labor and delivery stories of joy and heartache.
Welcome to The Thrive, a podcast for working moms. This is for all the women and moms listening. If you work from home, in an office, run your own business, or are the CEO of your family, this podcast is for you. Because at the end of the day, all moms are working moms. Rachel and Christine invite you to celebrate the victories, get advice, listen to their mom fails, and to know you aren't alone, to thrive in your everyday life.
Today's episode is sponsored by Young and Free Apparel. Young and Free Apparel is an online children's boutique offering adorable clothing for boys and girls, size 0 to 3 months through 8 youth, along with muslin swaddle blankets and accessories. Not only do we love adorable toddler clothes, but Christine and I love supporting local brands. So for our Lancaster listeners, you'll never believe that Young and Free Apparel is based in the little town of New Holland, PA. Their clothing is designed by a mom of little ones who understands what we need when it comes to kids' clothes. Their play suits and sleepers have zippers for easy diaper changes, no buttons, and their girls' dresses and tops are made of durable cotton, so they're easy to wash and never lose their bright colors. Whether you need a unique baby shower gift or you want some cute items for your kids' wardrobes this spring, visit youngandfreeapparel.com to shop. All orders over $25 ship free. No coupon code necessary. Welcome, everybody. This is Rachel.
And Christine.
We are really excited to have with us today a guest that isn't just a guest, but a friend.
We are friends. We are joined today by Melissa Leaman. Hey, Melissa.
Hi, guys. It's great to be here.
Yeah, Melissa is actually part of the same moms group that we were part of, and she's local to the Lancaster area, and we thought she might have some really great insight to share with you all just about motherhood and labor and delivery from a nurse's perspective, because she has worked in labor and delivery for how many years was that?
I was probably about between 8 and 9 years.
Wow, that's so cool.
So recently, Rachel even said when we were talking about new guests, she's like, we need to have someone who is an expert in labor and delivery and has seen a lot. Because obviously Rachel and I will be there soon. And right away I thought of you. I was like, we need to talk to Melissa.
Yes.
So we are so excited to have you and just listen to your stories. Mm-hmm. I know when we sat together at Mom's Group, you shared a little bit and just my jaw was on the floor listening to just a little bit that you shared about what you've seen in all of your years.
Yeah, definitely.
So can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, your experience, and your family?
Sure. Well, I graduated from Messiah College. It's crazy. It's been since 2002. I'm like, wow, I'm an old nurse.
And you're still in your 20s.
Right, exactly. So after Messiah, I moved out here to Lancaster and got a job through Lancaster General. I did my first year just in med-surg, just to get my hands and feet wet. Med-surg, sorry. Yes, ask anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, so med-surg.
Terminology might throw people off.
I'm sorry. So med-surg is medical surgical. So it's kind of a general unit. I just felt like, coming out of school, it's like your first day driving with your license. Like, you really don't know how to drive. Like, just enough to get your license, right? So I thought, let's just get my feet a little wet and get more confident. So medical surgical, we saw a lot of just medical issues and post-surgery things. Nothing that was too critical. So I did my year there, but the whole time my heart was for labor and delivery. I knew I wasn't going to be in med-surg that long. And it was really cool how things transitioned pretty effortlessly. I actually took care of somebody that worked in labor and delivery and kind of just said, hey, I'd love to get over there. And before you knew it, a door was opened and I transferred over there. And right away I knew that was my home. I mean, I just fell in love with it. For me, nursing, I feel like there's two different types of nurses. There's the nurse that is, the type A driven, manages everything well, very medically focused, which we all need to be. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's not who I am, but my gear of nursing is much more relational. I think it is just an incredible privilege to be able to walk into someone's room, for them to trust you with their life. And it's amazing what opens through that, like for labor and delivery, think about it. You go into a room, you meet your nurse, you're there in a vulnerable position. They know your whole history.
Yep.
And they're about to walk with you through one of the hardest things of life. Like, I'm going to know you by the end of that delivery, you know? Now, I'm not going to know every detail, but I'm going to know the core of who you are. And to me, that is one of the coolest privileges as a nurse.
So I'm going to need you to be my nurse.
Yes.
Well, I was wondering, so when you first got into labor and delivery, were you a mom yet?
No,
walk us back, personal life-wise, how were things?
Right.
Were you married yet, or was the whole... Well, was your first labor and delivery someone else's?
It was someone else's. I was 20, I would have been 23 at that point, still single. And so pretty much my whole labor and delivery career, I was single and never had children. Okay. My whole life, I was drawn to infants. Mm-hmm. I would have friends call me the baby whisperer. And I always felt like God gave me a very nurturing spirit. I mean, we all are in a sense have that, but that was just very much part of my identity. So I knew that was one avenue that I could feed that part of my spirit and I could give to others. Here I was. I often laughed about it because here I was coaching women how to have a baby and had no clue myself.
Sometimes that makes you the best teacher.
Sometimes. And, there I was teaching a new mom how to breastfeed. And I was like, I have no idea how to do this, but this is what the books tell me. And it works, Again, I couldn't interject any personal experience, but I felt like, once you start seeing the process of birth, none of them are the same, but you start to learn what's really helpful and beneficial, and you start to really your skills develop, and you get to be really good at it because you see it day in and day out.
So how much after that beginning time in labor and delivery did you then get married and start your family?
So I took a switch in my career. I never thought I would leave labor and delivery. In fact, even when I say that now, I'm like, man, I can't believe I did that because it was so much part of who I was. Mm-hmm. I took a year in my late 20s, so I was still single, still longing to be married and be a mom. And, you're in that season, if anyone's, been there, everyone's getting married, and it just was really hard. And so I took a season away and did travel nursing, which is a really cool option for nurses. You can,
that's so cool.
You can go to California, you look for anywhere you want to go. Well, I wasn't that adventurous. So I went to the Maryland side outside of DC because my brother and his family were there, and they were starting to have children. And I took a year stint in Maryland. I was close to my family. I rented out my house to some girls, and it was just a good fit. It gave me that fresh perspective, that fresh breath of air that I needed. And I worked in labor and delivery there. It was a different feel. I mean, most people in this area know women and babies. It's a pretty legit place to have a baby. Where I was working, it was a little bit more old school. It was a hospital, a larger hospital where everything was in the same building. The doctors, it's mostly doctors, not as many midwives. So it was a different feel, and it brought a whole new perspective to labor and delivery.
Absolutely.
But then when I came home, I was just done with night shift. My body was aging, and I just didn't want to do night shift anymore.
Something happens around that 30 mark.
People who do shift work, God bless them.
So
not me.
Yeah, I took a sabbatical, a 2-month sabbatical, and during that time, I just was trying to discern if I would go back to labor and delivery, but I found a position in oncology. And people are like, how can you go from birthing babies to cancer care? Like, it's total different ends of the spectrum. But if you remember what I said about why I'm a nurse, it's the relational side of things. So think about it. You have life and you have death. What other opportunities do you get to be in the life with people? Oh, wow. And it's the same kind of support, encouraging. I mean, walking through cancer is hard work. It's labor. I mean, it really is labor. And the highs and the lows and the pain and, all of that. And while there's no physical birthing at the end of it, I mean, most people are new people when they come through cancer. I mean, they realize so much more about themselves. I mean, think about when you had your baby, you're like, I can't believe I did that. I can do anything now.
That was crazy.
I mean, it's crazy if you think about what happens. So some of these people come through cancer and they're like, I just beat cancer. Like,
And you get to be there alongside them to
and
see
you get
that.
to see their family and you get to know their story. And so, it's been really good. The best part is it's Monday through Friday, no weekends or holidays. So
were you married then when you started oncology?
So this is the cool thing. When I came to my new job, the nurse practitioner was like, I have somebody you need to meet. So I took a leap of faith. I did oncology, which I said I would never do, because if you know how many drugs are on oncology and all you have to remember, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But I took the jump, loved this position, and I found my husband.
See, that's why you had to go and switch
It's
careers.
great,
That's awesome.
So you're still in oncology part-time now because you have two little babes.
Two kiddos. I have a 5-year-old son named Judah and a 2-year-old daughter named Jenna.
So you've definitely been across the spectrum as far as like how much you've been working and obviously your shifts and then transitioning into family life. And now I know you've shared with both Rachel and I how you feel like this is kind of in your groove now, fitting your family life and being able to still be a mom full time and then work a little bit.
It's just the perfect fit. And that's what I appreciate so much about nursing is it allows you the opportunity to be flexible and to find what fits you. And I've still had the opportunity to go into labor and delivery rooms. I was counting up how many births I've been in outside of the actual job, and it's close to 30 friends and family.
That's so neat.
Each, I have 4, 5, 6, 7 nieces and nephews. None of them are local, and I was at each delivery.
I mean, can I get you to come in when I have... Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, if it works, like my friend,
like just for support.
Yeah. So what I love to do, like I'm not a doula. Like there's some certified doulas out there.
No, I just need you to like brush my hair and tell me how to
respect
do it.
for them. Major respect, because it's a precious and important position. Yeah. But like I love going in to just offer support, to be like, hey, like I kind of wait for mom and dad, my friends, to say, hey, we need you to, would you do this? Or I say, hey, do you want to try this? Like just offer suggestions. But like a lot of the times the dads just need to get out, go get coffee. I'll sit, brush hair, rub feet, give a massage.
See, this is what we need.
It's just, there's something sacred and special about women together. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, because some are very private and I just want you and dad. And it's, if I can say anything, is there's no right or wrong way to have a baby.
Amen.
There isn't.
Well, and what you said too about like some people are very private, and obviously I've had one baby before, but I think I would have thought I would have been more like private or just like, oh my gosh, that's such a vulnerable moment. Yeah. But
your whole family was there. What are you talking about with being private?
This is what I'm saying. It totally shifted, and I didn't realize that. So now when I see on the other side of it, how much it meant to have someone there who I knew was like cheering me on, and the fact that I was totally vulnerable having a baby.
And she has a video. She has a video, and her whole family was there. And she's saying she's
for
private.
The actual birth.
Can we have a correction to this? Just an amendment. The video is off to the side. My mom was there taking the video, so we do have a video of like.
It's not like a close up.
I
like
would
the
show
baby coming
everybody,
out.
but it was right when my daughter was born, and my husband said it's a girl, and I cried. But I just was talking to my dad about this the other day. Side note, was like, Dad, I can't wait for you guys to come up when we have this baby. I was like, maybe you can wait until like after I'm all settled, because my dad literally walked in right after Nora came out. I was like, oh, and my dad, who is a paramedic, said, oh, that's a lot more blood than what I've seen on a video. Like, but I was, but when you're in that moment, this is what I'm saying. It all just kind of washes away. Yeah. So I can see how your presence there could just be so comforting to people. And they, new moms, expecting moms might even know that that's what they want.
Right. And I think the other part of that is things can change really quick in a delivery room. And I look back on my time and like when things become emergent, like let's say there's something goes on, you have to say, okay, we need to do a C-section. When that happens, it's quick and it can be very overwhelming. And oftentimes as nurses, we get so focused on getting what needs to be done. And sometimes the parents it's harder to communicate all that needs to be communicated. It's very scary. It can be very scary when it doesn't need to be. And so if you have somebody in the room that can say, hey, this is what's going on, like giving a sense of calm and peace and order, and can pray if you want prayer, and can, have dad quick get a drink and get a cracker. You're going back to the OR. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just a nice benefit.
Oh, that is nice. And that's true. Like, I have had 2 babies, and with the second one, I don't know, like, I didn't really tear, but like there was just more blood, and all of a sudden I have like lower iron, and like they threw an oxygen mask on me, and all of a sudden I just remember there was like way more people in the room than I thought there should be, and maybe I was just so out of it. Like, if you've ever kind of fainted or blacked out, things kind of seem a little blurry, and so I don't know if someone was trying to tell me what was going on or not, but I didn't have any idea what was going on, and it would have been nice to just have someone like, it's okay,
because it can change so quickly.
Yeah, and at that point, like, the baby was born, so I'm assuming Kyle was dealing with that. I don't know. I need to ask about this. I don't even really know what happened.
Well, Melissa, you mentioned a few times like about dads and coming in and being the person to say, "Dad, go get a cracker, go get a coffee." Do you have any fun, like, I don't know, dad stories? Like, how do dads handle
Let me tell you, there are dads come in so many different shapes, sizes, personalities, and my favorite is when you had a dad that you knew you could really just gel with, you know? It just makes it more fun and more personal. And I remember this one when I was in Maryland. It was just we were having so much fun the entire time, and this dad never left mom's side, never. Like, I don't think he peed the entire 12-hour shift.
Sympathy.
Like, it was so awesome. And so we were getting ready to push, and I said, "Okay, Dad," I said, "we could be pushing for an hour, 2 or more." I said, "You need to go to the bathroom. Like, you need to step away. You need to take care of yourself." And he fought it. I said, "Go." And thankfully, the bathroom was right in the room, so he didn't. I said, "You don't have to go far."
What?
Yeah. I was like, "Don't have to go far." And when he went in, Mom and I looked at each other. We're like, "Let's get him. Let's trick him, right?" So all of a sudden, Mom goes, "Oh no, it's coming!" And I'm like, push, and this dad comes flying out of the bathroom with his pants down, freaking out, and we just died. Like, the nurses who were outside in the hall, they literally thought we were having a baby, and they came flying in. So we were like, okay, maybe that was a little too far, but we just died. Mom and I would have done that with anybody I didn't know could handle it. But that family, we could handle it. And that dad,
that's so funny.
My word.
So, disclaimer to all of Melissa's stories. This is just her experience.
Yes, this is just my experience. I took my job very seriously.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to have fun.
And sometimes that's what a mom needs. And they might not even realize it to, like, break that tension and just smile for a minute.
Exactly. Because it's long. It's a long process. It can be a very long process.
It can. And I always, like, at least with both of mine, I remember it was long enough that, like, you had one nurse that you kind of got to know all day. Yeah. Both of mine had to get induced. So I was there by, like, 7 a.m. and I had one nurse who was there until, 7 p.m.? And then both of my girls were born at, like, one was, like, 8 p.m. and the other one was, like, 9 p.m. Yeah. So the nurse that actually got to deliver them, like, I don't remember as much because she wasn't the one, like, with us all day.
That did the work. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was wondering, like, is it, like, we were, like, both of my births, like, my husband and I were like, is there a way we can, like, get in touch with, like, the nurse we had all day? Like, do people ever contact you?
Definitely. I think that as a nurse, like, when somebody sought me out, that meant the world to me. I mean, because, and it's hard for us as nurses. Like, we bond, we connect, we invest, and then we get to go home, which usually we're glad because it's 12 hours and we're exhausted, but there's a part of our heart and our minds that stay in that room. And so oftentimes we would go, like, personally speaking, I would go the next day or whenever and see them in postpartum before starting my shift and just seeing what you worked for. But yeah, moms, if you have that, if you have time, just take that opportunity to go back and say, hey, you know, your care really meant a lot, and here's my baby. And if you want to name the child after them, we always love that.
Has anyone ever done that?
Not to my awareness. No.
Christine, you're having a girl, and Melissa, maybe you'll stop by, and now we know what you're going to do.
Yes,
there you
Melissa
go. I already suggested that to you, right?
You probably did. I saw her at church, and Robert and I were sitting writing out names, and she was over at the other table, like, just whispering over suggestions.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I was going to say, I think you know the nurse that I had, because I asked you about her. She was like an older woman, and when we at Mom's Group, when you were sharing, and you knew who it was, she was phenomenal. This sweet woman.
I tell you, I've only worked, 2 places in labor and delivery, and I'll speak about locally in Lancaster, like nurses who are there because they love their job. Like you can't be in a specialty like this if you don't love your job, because think about all you deal with, and if you're dealing with somebody in this position and you're a grump, you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't. You should do a self-check and say, hey, I'm not doing any good to this patient who needs me to be on,
Well, and it sounds like you love what you do, and it sounds like you handle these stresses really well. And now even in a new unit, in a new position, how do you care for yourself, like in the midst of this busyness and the hardship you see?
It takes time and practice, because I can remember early on in my career, I had a really, really hard experience, really sad experience. And I want to be cautious I don't want to say too much, because there's a lot of pregnant moms, but it was a difficult loss. A mom, and the mom was not ready. It was happening quick, and she hadn't dealt with it. She hadn't grieved. She didn't allow herself the space to feel what she needed to feel, because it was all happening so quick. And the way it happened, she delivered, and I think it was like 18 weeks, and she couldn't be in the room with the baby. And so I remember how heartbroken and sad I was for this mom, because I knew this. I didn't know what she was going through, but I had so much pain and sadness for her, and I wanted her to not miss this moment. Like we're given these moments, and sometimes the emotions of it all doesn't allow us to really see what's going on. And so I wanted it for her so bad. And then I was feeling for this child. Here's this non-viable child, because the children, I don't know if you know this, but they don't survive under 23, 24 weeks. It's no known survival. So they weren't gonna, typically in that position, you wait for the baby to pass if it hasn't already. And so then I was just emotionally drawn to this child who is sacred and alone. And I remember just sitting with this baby. I mean, we finished with the mom, and I just felt like I need to be with this baby. I don't want this baby to be alone while it passes.
Oh my goodness, it made me cry.
I know. And it's like, I went home and I had to release. Like I just sobbed for the mom and for her loss and, and the baby, all these things I didn't know how to process. And I remember, so I would have been, mid-20s, and I called my parents and they came, they drove out, and they just held me. I needed somebody to just be with me and hold me and let me just purge my emotions.
And good for you knowing that you needed to reach out to someone.
So, and then I had to refuel after that, because it's like, I have to go back into work the next day. Like, how do I do that? And for me, it's my refueling is spiritual. I mean, I couldn't do any of this without a faith in God. And that's for me what keeps me grounded and keeps me going forward and doing what I need to do. But some things that have helped me as I've gotten more mature and stuff, I just realized I need massage. I need quiet with some good music on. I need space to just step out of my ordinary normal life and just breathe. And thankfully I have a husband that honors that and blesses me in that. And
he gave you the morning to be
with us. And he gave me the morning to be with us. Exactly.
And I think that's an encouragement too, you saying that it took a while to figure out what that was for you. Because I know some people might feel like they're in the midst of a busy season, a stressful season in their work or their family, to know that you don't have to know right away what it is, but to figure out for yourself what it looks like to be able to care for yourself.
Right. It's vital. I mean, it's vital no matter what we do in any of our positions, whether it's in the workplace or at home, we're caring for people. And,
that sounds like you've definitely figured out what that looks like for you.
And I can't wait. I cannot wait to just hear more of your stories and to chat a little bit more about your career. But we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. As a mom, I love dressing my kids in clothes that look cute, but also clothes they love. We recently purchased some items from Young and Free Apparel, and not only did they fit perfectly, my girls feel like princesses when they're wearing them. I also snagged some cute items in size 0 to 3 for our little man who's not here yet, and I'm saving the cuddle suit for his coming home from the hospital outfit. Young and Free Apparel is a children's clothing brand founded by a husband and wife duo who are in the midst of raising 3 little ones. Each item is designed by a mom who knows what other mamas are looking for when it comes to clothing for our toddlers. Tops and bottoms feature high-quality stitching and durable fabrics that will hold up after countless washes. And as much as I love trendy items, I prefer classic pieces that my girls can wear again and again, which is why Young and Free apparel has become an instant favorite of mine. Whether you need a unique baby shower gift or you want some cute items for your kids this spring, visit youngandfreeapparel.com to shop. And remember that all orders over $25 ship free, no coupon code necessary. Hey Thrivers, if you're local, we invite you to join Christine and Shannon of Bell & Berry as they host their Be Beautiful event, a style and beauty market on April 5th and 6th at the Lampeter Cafe. Grab a girlfriend and come shop for your favorite skincare, makeup, and clothing lines, including Sweet Kenzie Lou, Rodan & Fields, Young Living, Soap Avenue Company, and more. Grab a bite to eat at the cafe while you shop. It'll be a weekend full of self-love and connecting with other amazing local women. Friday, things are happening from 6 to 8 p.m. and Saturday, the market will go from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Lampeter Cafe. Hope to see you there. Welcome back. We are with Melissa Leaman. She is a former labor and delivery nurse, and she has been sharing her experience and her stories with us. She's also still a nurse, but you work in oncology now.
Mm-hmm, correct.
So we were sharing earlier some stories, just some of your experiences, and I can't wait to hear more of those. I have in my notes here that you also worked in special care and in triage. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what was that like?
Both of those were whole other ball games. I mean, you had triage, which was, I will say I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I like a little bit more of the controlled environment.
Okay. I can see that about you.
But
that too.
You know, there's some L&D nurses that are like, they are born to be in triage. They thrive on that. But like, not knowing what's coming in the door and when. Like, when we delivered a baby in the triage room, I was like, oh boy. Like, you know, you just have to adjust. You have to be ready. So I think nowadays they have a lot more of the same nurses out there who are really, that's their jam. Like, they thrive out there. Yeah. So if you go into triage, know that you're getting nurses who thrive on it. I will say that. Do not be scared of having to deliver in triage if you have to deliver in triage.
So this might be a really dumb question, but triage is like where you go if you're like I've only been induced. So if my water would
then
break,
you need to know this.
What is triage?
Well, I think I went into triage, but it was so slow.
Yeah. Triage is like the ER for labor and delivery. Okay. So it's like, that's where you go to get assessed. Like, you're at home, your water breaks, or you're contracting, and you go in before they admit you, you need to be evaluated through triage. Like, the only time they directly admit you to labor and delivery is like for an induction. Like, you know you're going in.
Yeah.
So you bypass that. But like, if you're at home and suddenly you have let's say you're not even due to have a baby yet, but you're having new onset abdominal pain or you're having bleeding, your doctor might say, hey, go into triage, I'll meet you there. So you would go in, they'd check you in, you'd be evaluated there in like a little room, like with
my water broke and I went in there, but I wasn't in pain. So
where is this place? What happens
when you go to May Grant and you walk in the front doors to the desk? It's just like down the left, and it's like there's a little waiting room. There's a desk.
May Grant. Mm-hmm. Okay, so May Grant has their own triage.
Oh,
so depending on who you see. Some will say go to triage at the hospital. Others will say come to the office, and they have their own triage. So May Grant, if you're local, May Grant does it a little differently.
That was mine.
Well, I hope I get to experience this time because I really don't want to get induced again. Yes. That's my goal.
Well, so because my water broke and I was in triage, so they were assessing me. I had to get that special medicine for having that like strep B thing.
Yeah, antibiotics.
But my water kept breaking, so the nurses, because I wasn't in like active like labor contractions, they would like go and come back, but I kept having like water, right? But I'd have to go to the bathroom, so like my husband opening all the drawers in the triage room, finding those pads to put down for me because I had to get up and go to the bathroom, and like I didn't know what was going on, but that's where it all starts. Some great nurses like, you're okay, let's walk back to labor and delivery. So mine was not the fast pace, but I can definitely see how if you were in that position, you would see like crazy stuff come through your door.
Yep.
Have you ever helped someone that like has had their baby in their car?
Not in their car. I have not personally helped, but I know. I'm trying to think of when I was there, somebody was like, when you see a mom come in, and now you girls can see me, you see this tilt
Yep.
So imagine this is a wheelchair, and if you see a woman tilting like this, you
Like
better
pushing
get a bed.
herself up
You better
off.
get.
Oh my
you
goodness.
better like have gloves on. Like that's the tilt that you look for. But we've just gotten people in. Like thankfully, triage was right there. I'm sure it's happened. I've never been personally involved in that, but I'm sure it's
Sounds exciting.
yeah. The good news is, I always tell people, if it's gonna come that quick, it's gonna be okay. Because babies that go that quick, it's more so when they're slow and it takes forever to push. But if somebody's, we call them precipitous labors, like when they're just like boom, baby's out, it's really the best scenario because usually everything works out fine. So
That was Nora,
don't be
nice
scared.
and slow.
Don't be scared of the
But
fast babies.
That's good encouragement.
Yeah,
You might
yeah.
think that going faster meant like worse or
Yeah.
scarier. So you were in triage for just a short period of time, but
right. They rotated, they typically rotate in and out, but mostly was in labor and delivery. The other area I was in was special care unit. Now, I don't know, for people who aren't local, I don't know what they would call that, but it would be it's like a high risk department. So we would see moms who had preterm labor, moms who had other complications while being pregnant. Okay. We'd see moms with, the complications like preeclampsia, blood pressure issues. And the one I'll always remember is we had a mom who had 5 babies in her belly. So
goodness.
we're talking potentially long term. And this is where, again, like, I never had a baby. I didn't understand what it meant to sacrifice. But like when I saw these moms like bed rest for months, like that is the ultimate sacrifice. Like this mom that had 5 babies, she came in, I think like 17 weeks pregnant. And she was there till she delivered around 30. Like that is sacrifice. Wow. And so that was another awesome opportunity. Remember me being relational to like really get to know people.
So that was special care being in that kind of situation.
That was a high risk. It was a smaller unit. Now some people came in just overnight for monitoring. Like they were having some preterm contractions. We brought them back, said, let's see what happens overnight. And then they could be admitted for longer, but that was kind of like the high risk. Okay. We're going to have our eyes on you type of thing.
Yeah.
What did this mom do for 13
Oh
weeks?
my goodness. I mean, they move in. They literally move in and you see the whole gamut of emotions again because they can potentially go crazy. Imagine, like I know how crazy I am with snow, being in a house for 2 days without getting out. Like that is sacrifice for those babies to stay. Now she could get up and move around, but closer to, I mean, this woman, I can still see her. She was this petite little thing. She'd walk down the hall and turn to go into the pantry and like this torpedo, like you couldn't even tell she was pregnant from behind. And then she turned to the side. It was like a torpedo bomber.
That's amazing what your body does.
And you can see elbows moving.
I'm just wondering, like, was this a natural thing? Like, is it possible to have 5 babies naturally? Like,
I'm not an expert, but I would say no. I would say most of them would be from if you choose the artificial route of having implantation. Okay. And they all just took. So, and they all, from what I can remember, they were all healthy babies. So that mom did phenomenal.
So you're there just caring for her, watching those babies, and I'm sure caring for the mom the way that you do. But
and letting them vent. And they weren't always the nicest. I mean, you know how we are when we're hormonal and grumpy and can't take things personal.
And you have nowhere to go. Like those moms can't.
I'm just thinking like I'm having one baby and like I have one of those Velcro like belly bands just because I have really bad back pain and sciatic pain. And it helps. Mm-hmm. Like
5 babies.
This woman, I feel like she needed like a triple belly band.
So like what push present does a husband buy when his wife has 5?
I feel like she gets 5 presents.
Well, like
5 presents.
These aren't just like here 5 necklaces. That's like
that's like you get a house cleaner, you get a chef,
like
you get
a vacation
you get
in Mexico.
Big stuff.
Yeah.
Although 5 babies, you probably need to be pinching your pennies at that point.
Well, that's someone needs to give that woman.
I keep telling Kyle I never I didn't get a push present for either girl. Like I don't know, like it's not like I was like hurting for anything.
Yeah. No, I picked mine out.
I don't remember him specifically getting me something. So I've been joking with him that like, I deserve 3 this time. You can just wrap them all into one thing.
You do. Well, obviously you've seen not just all different kinds of birthing stories, but different families coming across your way.
Definitely.
I'm sure you've had different cultural things play into part here. Any good stories that pop out to you as far as different family dynamics?
Well, locally here, obviously we have a lot of Amish population, and most of them do deliver outside of the hospital, but we would often see more the high-risk ones. And this one patient, I remember, Fanny, she delivered, or her water broke early. So I had her in special care for over a month. So I got to know her there. Wow. And she made it to about 37 weeks, and the doctors could tell it was time to induce her fluid.
So even though her water had broken?
Yeah.
Because I thought after your water broke, you had to have the baby.
No. So this is what's tricky. So she, when you're term and your water breaks, you can go into labor, right? So the doctors, there's more risk for infection and all that.
Right.
But when you're preterm, it's this balance of maintaining an environment where we keep the infection from coming and trying to let the baby develop. So we had her back in special care on bed rest. We would monitor. They would get ultrasounds to monitor the fluids. Every once in a while, they could actually seal over so the fluid would not leak anymore. It's amazing what can happen.
I didn't know that.
Now it's not every time.
I'm amazed.
It's not every time, but you have most of them. Once your water breaks, the water continues to go down. So we have to watch the baby because the fluid is there. Because you want to make sure that the cord, you're not pinching the cord, and movement and growth, the fluid is needed. But if we can watch that, make sure infection does not come, we check mom's temperature and all that, and we allow the baby to grow. Maybe we give them their steroids to make their lungs develop quicker. We can monitor them, but it comes a point where the doctors say, okay, we're at a safe place. We need to induce. So if we can buy a little bit of time. So we bought Fanny time in special care.
Wow.
And she delivered, I think she was about 36 or 7 weeks, if I can remember.
Good for her.
And she had a very laid back country doctor. And I had, I was fairly new at this time. So when I went over, I was thinking, okay, is this doctor even going to be here? Like, I got a little nervous because I'm like, am I going to have to catch this baby? Whatever. So I was talking to Fanny. I was like, okay. And what you need to know, Fanny was a gravida 11. Gravida 11 means this was her 11th pregnancy.
What?
She's Amish, so
Gravida 11?
Gravida 11.
So I'm gravida 3.
So you've had 3 pregnancies?
Yeah.
And so you're a gravida 3, para 2. Para 2 means you have 2 babies at home. When you deliver, you'll be a gravida 3, para 3. So that's
very
the learning lesson.
tidbit.
Yeah, you can impress your OBs saying, how's my gravida 3 body doing? How's my body? But anyway, so I knew, common sense, nursing knowledge, that 11th baby is going to go pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I was like, Fanny, tell me about your labors. And she goes, well, I'm not going to do my Amish accent. But she said, well, it usually only takes a couple really hard contractions and the baby comes. And I'm like, okay. Remember, I don't like adrenaline.
Yet, right?
I'm not the adrenaline junkie. I didn't leave that room. So we got the Pitocin started. Pitocin's what's used to induce, one of the options to induce her. And so she's sitting on the bed. The husband, again, cultural things. Husbands are hit or miss in the Amish community. Some are very present, very loving individuals. Others are distant and don't really want to be there. He was there. He was very present, supportive. So I can see him sitting in the chair next to her, and she's sitting upright in the bed and start the Pitocin. I'm like, all right, Fanny. Every literally a couple minutes, I'd be like, Fanny, what are you feeling? Fanny, what are you feeling? Because I'm a nervous Nelly, right? New nurse.
Had the doctor come yet?
Oh, the doctor was there, but he left. He's like, I'm gonna go home.
You said at one point the doctor wasn't even there yet, and then she tells you this.
Well, he was there.
What?
He was there to start the induction, and then he left. And I'm like, oh my God, where are you going? How far are you going? And this was a doctor that was notorious for not answering his phone calls. So I was really nervous, right?
Perfect storm.
So I didn't leave the room. 15 minutes goes by, and I start seeing her do this and shifting in her seat. And I'm
side to side.
like, Fanny, what are you feeling? Oh, just a little bit. I'm like, is this what we're talking? I'm like, is this a heart contraction? No. 30 minutes comes by.
Knows.
She knows. 30 minutes comes by, and I hear this and this little grunting, and I'm like, Fanny, and she goes, it's getting close. And I'm like, so I call the doctor, and I'm like, literally, this has been, now my timing might be a little off, but we're still within the hour of starting Pitocin.
Yeah.
That is so
crazy, right? So I call the doctor, can't get a hold of him. And I'm like, calling the charge nurse. I'm like, we got to get the doctor here. She's grunting. And now I really hear, the grunt's coming full force. And I go to check her, and the baby's head's right there. And I turn to hit the cord, the emergency cord, because, you want to have people support in the room. And she gives this big grunt, and this baby, like bottle rocket, shoots out of her. Thankfully, I was there. The bed was still put together. There was no harm done. But like under an hour induction from an Amish woman was like the craziest experience of my life.
And so no one had come yet.
Well, then the doctor walked in.
But
like after I had caught the baby.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So the baby's here.
So she was not kidding.
She was not kidding. She was not kidding. Right.
Wow.
And
talk about knowing your body.
And I'm talking about, I want to be careful because I'm talking about how nervous I was. We know how to catch babies.
Right.
But when you haven't caught a whole lot, there's still an adrenaline, right? There's still an
catch a
baby.
Well, I caught deliver a baby. But I literally caught a baby.
Imagine this baby like flying out and you're literally like football.
No,
receiver.
I was sitting on the bed. It's kind of hard to imagine, but I was sitting on the bed. Okay. The bed was put together. It's not like the legs were up in stirrups and the floor was exposed. Like, I kept everything together because I knew it could come quick.
Right.
So the baby just slid out. I caught the baby. Doctor walks in behind and goes, "Oh, you had the baby." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you very much." But
thanks for coming.
Again, disclaimer. This was many years ago. This was a country doctor who doesn't normally do like your physicians are prompt. They're in-house. There's always a doctor in-house.
That's true.
This was my experience from
I feel like
over 10 years
if
ago.
This happens that people should really get a discount, and you should get with the doctor.
That's what I was gonna say.
You should. I know. I know. You shouldn't have a doctor.
Get that doctor bill.
Yeah.
Or like payment.
The same thing with like women. I always feel bad for women who get epidurals and like literally. When the anesthesiologist leaves, she's like, "I have to push," and she pushes the baby out, and she didn't even get to enjoy the epidural. Like you shouldn't have to pay for it.
You're like, so well, the anesthesiologist, I did my job.
They don't really care. They don't really care.
So, any other stories? Because I just love hearing these.
So the other one that came to mind is when I was in Maryland. Again, that was a little bit more culturally diverse because outside of DC. I walked into a room. It was a lovely Indian couple. And I walked into the room and her blood pressure cuff was going off. And, oftentimes we're monitoring it off pretty frequently and it can alarm. And so this one was alarming. And I go over and my first impression of them was they were nervous Nellies. Mm-hmm. And I knew this was her first baby. And so I go in, I said, "Oh, let me just fix your alarm." I said, "It's just a mistake." And the dad goes, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "I work for this company. I make these machines. It's not a mistake." And I'm like, this is going to be a long 12-hour shift here. So it was a mistake. It wasn't properly on. It was alarming because it misread. So anyway, I just left it go with that. So I was a little nervous because of that. But anyway, so we get started and I was just trying to figure out how to work with their nerves and Dad's knowledge or what he thought he had knowledge in. And it was just an intense start. Well, then the family starts coming in. And I don't know that I've at that point had any other experience with the Indian family culture. But there was a lot of family in and out, a lot of food being brought in and out. It was a very warm room, and they were very present all over the room. Like
it's a lot.
It was a lot. But I will say, the husband was very present and doting on the wife. Like he wouldn't let her do anything. He kind of spoke for her, and I felt like I didn't really get to know the mom very well. But I was just kind of taking in the culture. Like the mothers were taking care of the dad. The mothers wanted to be overly present with the mom, and all the smells. It was just, I smelled spices that I've never smelled before.
And so did I'm sure everybody in that whole hallway.
Yeah. So as it progressed along, this was the beginning of the shift. By maybe the next 8 or 9 hours, we got to the point where it was time to push. And so I'm explaining to the dad, again, who's also very nervous Nelly. He's checking in on the wife, like, what can I do? What can I do? And we all just needed a little bit of fresh air. But it was time to push. And so I got dad position. It was just dad. Thankfully, everybody left. It was dad and me. And sometimes as a nurse, like you do things, you position yourself so you have a free hand if you need a chart or grab something. So I'm, holding her leg with, like you girls can see, I'm holding my arm up, holding her leg. And I look over and dad's like mimicking me, like the exact way I'm doing it. He's trying so hard. And I go, Dad, I said, do what's comfortable. I'm just doing this so I can, freehand. And so I showed him. He goes, oh, I must do what you do. And so he was very adamant about doing the right thing. So we're pushing. And again, this woman has said nothing. Like, I don't even know if I knew what her voice sounded like, but she was very just quiet, prim and proper, nervous. And it comes time after pushing for a while to get ready to actually deliver. So I said, Dad, I'm going to step away. I'm going to go do my quick preparation, and we'll be back and get the doctor in. He's like, okay. So he's pacing, I'm charting, and he comes over to me and goes, excuse me, but do you have any gum? And I'm like, I started to say, I said, I don't, but, and out of nowhere, this little church mouse of a woman from her bed goes, what the F do you want effing gum for? Here we are in the middle of having an effing baby, and you want to go to the effing store to get an effing pack of gum. I can't believe how effing crazy you are. And I'm like, oh my word. She just blew a lid. She talked, but it was like, it made me think, was this woman, did she feel like she had to be quiet? Did she feel like all this was bottled up in her?
My.
And the dad was like,
let it go.
The dad was like, I'm so sorry. No, I don't need gum. And then I felt bad for the guy. But it was just funny. It was here is this quiet woman. And I was like, you poor thing. Were you holding all this in this whole time?
Right.
Like, and I don't know if that was...
That's probably how the relationship goes.
Just goes
with the flow until, no, you've pushed me past the I'm having this baby, you don't need gum. You don't need gum.
Yeah.
And so there you are, Melissa, just keeping the peace.
Trying not to laugh, because it struck me. At that point, I have a habit of laughing when stress happens. Yeah. And I had to kind of excuse myself for a minute, because I just... Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And that wasn't necessarily a cultural thing. That was just a woman thing. But
sure.
It just goes hand in hand with the intensity of...
I'm sure we would all have that moment too for some reason or another, either during labor or after the baby comes home, where you're just like...
These poor guys. I tell you what, dads, most of you are pretty darn good. And...
they got a large job.
Put up with a lot.
I feel like they have to be very patient on delivery days.
They do.
Because I think I got to be pretty bossy.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, what do you mean? I need that. Give me that.
Yeah.
Or I remember getting really annoyed. Being induced, it's a longer process. Mm-hmm. I remember being so annoyed when he would want to change the TV. I'm like, I'm the one having a baby. I get to pick what we're watching today.
You're like, for 2 days, maybe 3, you're going to be okay with, Bravo, Housewives.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It didn't take me that long, though. It was a one-day thing for both of mine.
Yeah.
I went from 0 to 10 centimeters with my first. And I went in to be induced around 7 a.m. until they started everything. It was probably 9. Mm-hmm. And then I had her at 8:30.
That's a good induction right there.
Yeah, I felt like it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as some people made it seem. Because I did hear that Pitocin can be terrible, and
everybody's different. Every single person is different. Yeah. And what I would say is for new moms, be careful of what you hear and hold on to, because if you can stay as open-minded as possible, I think in today's society, every story we hear is truth. And it's true for that person, but it's not going to be true for you. Mm-hmm. And so if you can go into your labor and delivery experience with an idea, if you picture an umbrella, okay, this is a labor and delivery umbrella. Think of all that can happen under it. If you can go into it open-minded, this is how I would like it to be. But I've seen so many stories of people who've come in gripping their idea of what needs to happen, because it's control. It's a fear. There's a fear of the unknown combined with a fear of, well, this is what happened to this person. This is what happened to this person. That your body can't respond appropriately. Literally, if you're going in induced and you have this in stone, this is what has to happen. Yeah. Then your body won't function as well as it could, because your mind is telling it, well, it has to go this way, but now this changes.
Well, that's very true, because for my first, I really was set on no meds. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do it naturally because
I would like meds.
Have 2.
Yeah, I'm right there.
Well, I have 2 siblings that had kids already, and they had both had epidurals, and then they were both already on their 3rd child. Mm-hmm. And they had told me I've tried it this way, I've tried it that way. Without meds was the best.
Yeah.
And I'm well, maybe by your 3rd kid, they just came out easier. I don't know. Yeah. But in my head, you're right. I kind of had this idea of that's how I wanted it to go. and my body just wasn't like progressing. So it took probably half the day to get to like 4 or 5 centimeters. And then the contractions were getting more, and like I just was feeling terrible. So my husband was the one that was like, I think it was his mom that kept saying like, remind her, like, you don't get what's her quote? Like, you don't win a medal.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you have a baby. Right. You just are going to have a baby. And so I was like, all right, I'll try like the epidural. And then it was like all of a sudden my body like
relaxed.
Yes.
It relaxed.
And it literally just, the rest went so much quicker.
Right.
And so from the get-go, the second time around, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do that because I know that like I am like a nervous, like anxiety type person that like if I don't get the epidural, I'll probably be dealing with the same thing.
Right. Right.
Well, and that's such good advice to remind people of, no matter where they are, like in their baby mom journey, not just with labor, but like you hear stories, you hear everyone's perspective, but then in the end you take it with a grain of salt and figure out what you would like things to do, but you understand that it doesn't always work out that way. And you've seen that like time and time again, I'm sure, with all of your experiences.
And just I feel like to put people at ease, there's so much fear that by you going into hospital that they want to take everything away from you, that they want to take away how you want to do things, and that you almost can't trust them. So I would love to see women who walk into a hospital say, this is my hope, communicate it to your nurses, but release trust. We want the best for you. We want the best for your baby. And if something is going in a direction that we see time and time again that, you know what, this is looking like you're getting a C-section, or this is looking like the baby's in distress, that we can be women that can trust. You know, years and years ago, I will say physicians would be, you know, you hear about physicians just doing episiotomies to get them quickly out. I will say that in years and years and years and years ago was the case. I feel we have come so far in medicine, and there's such an awareness of women and their wants and their bodies and their desires. Like, people don't want to just to cut. That's a difference. I believe that's a difference from was it that way decades ago? But I just want women to be comfortable trusting their provider and not to fight back against them.
Like work together. And that's so good to remind us to let your wishes be known, though it's okay to say, here's what I would like, here's what I'm envisioning.
Right.
I feel like what you mentioned, though, is just similar to what we had a guest on our show, Marianne, who is a doula.
Yeah.
Similar to what she was sharing. You know, her goal is to come alongside the woman who's having a baby and to be part of that team. You know, it's a team effort. And if you are someone local, I know that she said that most of the hospitals around here are very welcoming of having a doula or just respecting your birth plan, but you can't go in gripping it like you said. I think you were just saying, like, you know, metaphorically, like gripping onto your plan. But I know, like, my oldest sister, like, when she had her first child, literally had a printed up birth plan. And like, you have to be willing to be more flexible. But I was just wondering, with your 2 children, did you have anything interesting happen?
No. I was a boring 2 induction delivery. And I had with my...
She went in with her plan written out.
No, my plan was get an epidural. So I'm like, and thankfully I have a little bit more of a personal relationship with my provider because I worked with her.
Right.
But I went in, my water broke at home, and it was so funny. Like, here I am with a former L&D nurse, and I like freaked when my water broke. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this baby. Because my son was so low that I thought he was it's like I thought he was going to fall out.
Yeah.
Well, that was not the case. But I got in within 30 minutes of my water breaking. Like, I was into triage. And I was like, I'm here in triage. Why am I here in triage? But anyway, so they kept me, and I labored lightly overnight. And I was like, I know I'm going to get Pitocin. So I was able to get my epidural before the Pitocin started. Because I'm like, listen, they're going to have to control my labor. I'm exhausted. So my provider was willing to let me do that. So I didn't really feel much of hard labor. And my induction, I think I started at 5 a.m, and he delivered at 3 p.m. So it was for first baby, perfect.
Yeah.
I did not recover well from him. I had some, tears and stuff that made it hard after that. I don't want to say too much, but you know, so coming with the second child, I was like, first of all, that can't happen again. Like I need to have a better outcome. So my provider really worked with me, and we scheduled an induction at 39 weeks because the baby was getting big. And again, started the Pitocin. This time started the Pitocin, but I got an epidural shortly thereafter, and she delivered within 7 hours. So I don't have any like hardcore stories. I don't even think I experienced the full out joy of full contractions. So I feel a little gypped, but I'm like, you know what? I have my babies, and
you know what it looks like,
and I don't get a medal. And I'm like, I
baby.
personally didn't have any desire to move around and bounce on the ball. Like I think it's because I trust. It was my environment that I worked in. I knew the people. I knew my nurse. I was fully arms open, trusting who was caring for me.
Oh,
That's so nice.
good.
And I had a friend in with me. First one my friend was in, who doesn't have children. She's one of my best friends, and also a nurse. And the second time, I invited my mom in, and that was really like
That's sweet.
It's really special. It was really special for both of us, and so
Good.
So do you have anything that you would recommend to either expecting moms or new moms? We're going to do a favorite things, but maybe our favorite things, like I said, for babies. Whether it was something that helped you or helped your baby.
In the womb baby, it would have to be massage. There is nothing better. I got a massage every month while I was pregnant. And it's something but I'm a person that loves touch and that's how I relax. So if you can treat yourself to that, I treated myself to massage and a pedicure every month. And that was like
for you.
My space.
We do our best over here.
My space to do that, to nurture my spirit and to relax. I mean, the body goes through war before you go into labor. I mean, it's hard work. Favorite things after the baby, I tell you what, my kiddos are 5 and 2, and I feel like there's a whole new spectrum of things out there that can make you nervous. Like, oh, do I have the right thing? Do I not have the right thing? And it's kind of nice the second time around. It's like you're just much more relaxed, and it's like, I think I have a pack and play.
Yeah,
I have a bouncer and car seat. Yeah, I think
we're good. We can get them home from the hospital.
We can get them home from the hospital. But I have to think about that. I don't know if I have any more favorite things.
Well, if you think of some after the fact, we would love to share that with our listeners.
Oh, I did have a favorite thing for my son. This was called the Magic Merlin sleep suit.
Girl.
Yes.
Did you?
You
talked about that.
That's
right.
Magic Merlin.
Magic Merlin.
That was our favorite thing after. My daughter's a good sleeper now. I think she always has been. But when she reached a certain weight, I want to say it was around 4 months, we transitioned her from swaddle to being in a crib, laying flat, and it's like a snowsuit.
It's hilarious. Sumo wrestler. They look like sumo wrestlers.
When we got that thing out and she knew, you could tell she was excited for it. And it just gave her enough weight to settle her where she wasn't going to startle.
So it's like a weighted sleeper?
Yeah.
But it doesn't even feel weighted when you hold it. It's like there's the hands are free, the feet are free, and it zips up. The neck is really low. And that was what we slept her in until I don't remember when. Yeah. And she transitioned fine out of it as well. Yeah. So we had a lot of success with that, and we'll be using it for the next one.
Yeah.
Where do you get these? Because
Amazon,
I've never seen one.
Amazon. eBay. I actually got them on eBay. eBay might be cheaper.
And ours has, stains from all of her blowouts. We barely could wash it because she was always using it, but we could just tell how much it calmed her and she enjoyed it. Wow. So that's been a great asset.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was going to say a favorite thing in the hospital was their cranberry juice, by the way. I drink a lot of cranberry juice now that I'm pregnant, but I loved having cranberry juice in the hospital.
Crab cakes and peanut butter pie. Come on, honey.
That was after the fact, but even when I was like laboring, because it was so slow, they let me, and so I could drink. And in the labor room, when you would ask for cranberry juice, they'd give you the really big cup.
Big ones.
But then after the fact, when you were like in recovery, or I don't know what they call that room, like once you've had the baby.
Yeah.
Not so big. Just like little things of cranberry juice. So I'm like, where's the other cup of cranberry juice?
Yeah.
So that was a favorite thing of mine in the hospital.
Oh, that's
What about
funny.
you?
I think if we're talking about favorite things in the hospital, I loved those glow stick style ice packs that you just you just break them, you pop them like a glow stick, and then you shake it a little bit, and they become frozen. and you can sit on them.
Glorious.
Like you mentioned,
Cooling.
you were like, I'm not even going to go into the details. When you mentioned about having like a possible tear or whatever. Regardless of if you tear in your delivery or not, these things are fantastic for the pain.
Yeah.
I remember the mistake I made after I got home from the hospital is I used a mirror to take a look.
Don't look, honey.
And I was like, oh my God, it's never going to be the same.
You just gotta let that go.
But you know what? It's the same. It will heal, and
our bodies are amazing.
Can I interject real quick? When you girls go home from having your babies, do not push yourself. After my first baby, I had a baby on Christmas on the 22nd. I went home on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, my parents were out.
Oh my gosh.
I was all excited. I was like, oh, it's Christmas. It's my son's first Christmas. My parents are here. I wanted to do stuff. I wrecked myself. I actually did too much, and my stitches were affected.
Oh, no.
So there's so much excitement and so much, anticipation to get started and whatnot.
Yeah.
Stay on your couch. Keep your ice pack on your bottom. Treat yourself like the queen that you are. Yes. Remember what you went through and let people serve you and bless you for a while.
That's such good advice. And those ice packs, take them with you.
Take them with you.
I cannot believe that the first time I had a baby, I didn't know you could take all the stuff in your hospital room. Somebody even told me, like, oh yeah, like if the pack of diapers is open, like they are yours.
Yep.
So I actually read a blog that was like, just open them up. You got 2 packs in your like bassinet thing that has all your supplies. Open everything so that it's yours when you leave.
Yeah.
So the second time around, I remember we brought like an empty tote bag just to take all those things because it was so helpful. Like the mesh underwear.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
Man. I wore them for like a week. I didn't want to have to like ruin my own if I could just wear those.
Exactly.
So
live and learn, and you figure out.
Oh yeah,
all the tips.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, whether you're expecting or you already have kids, I hope that you just enjoyed hearing some of Melissa's stories today. I hope that maybe you're encouraged that going into labor and delivery is not going to be as hard as you thought or just a burden, but it could actually be a really fun and really cool experience. So I want to say thanks to anyone that's listened today. Thank you, Melissa, so much for coming.
Yeah, it was so fun. And just remember, I always tell moms, your body was created to do this. So go in knowing that you were created to do this. You're put on this earth to birth babies, and your body knows what it's doing.
Oh,
Thank you.
Such good advice.
And thank you guys for listening and joining us. And like Rachel said, wherever you are in your journey of having kids or not, wherever you are doing absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much for listening today. You are a part of a growing community of moms, business owners, and women who are here to encourage and inspire. You can connect with Rachel at Rachel Klein Creative on Instagram or rachelkleincreative.com. To keep up with Christine and her latest events, follow her business journey on Instagram at Bellenberry Co. And if you want to be first to know about upcoming guests and giveaways, sign up for the Thrive Podcast email list today. Simply visit rachelkleincreative.com/The Thrive Podcast or follow at The Thrive Podcast on Instagram. If you've enjoyed listening this week or you've already added our show to your favorites playlist, we'd love for you to write us a review on iTunes. Your support and positive feedback allows us to keep encouraging moms and business owners each week.